Shalom Israel. First, want to start by giving all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors into the elders, apostles, and bishops of GMS Great Millstone, who will well teach and edify, and peace and blessings unto you, hopeful Akim and Akwat in the household of faith. My name is Yeshaya. Khan. I don't want to We're going to make an edifying video just going on an exhortation for younger brothers, about manners and kind of how you act around ancient men, as the scriptures say. And I actually wanted to start with there's a few points I wanted to get, but I'm going to start actually with Psalms 119 and 9. A young man instruct his way, because we have to take heed, right? So when it comes to being around men of the Lord, the like it says in Luke 1 and 70, the Lord speaks through his prophets since the very beginning of the world. And when it comes to being around these great men that the Lord has blessed with the Spirit, we're all ears, You don't want to justify yourself or try to add in points. For example, like when you have brothers that are highly experienced, it kind of messes up the spirit when you try to put in your 2 cents. You're putting a wrench in the edification, right? Because these brothers think on a higher level. When the Lord brings you into this faith, you become a new creature, and from that, point on, you're like an infant, and you have to grow and start understanding things. So through times, experiences, pursuant to Romans, the 5th chapter, is when you start really developing understanding. There's wisdom and knowledge. You can understand precepts, you can understand history, you can understand Lashon Kodash, and the whole nine. You can eat the whole loaf truly, but at the same time, younger brothers oftentimes don't have that full understanding that on the same level as elders, right? And there are certain cases, but I'm saying generally, it doesn't happen like that, right? Because, the Lord deals with every man in a certain portion, and he has set certain men up because things are supposed to be done in order. The scriptures say, lest not a novice being lifted up with pride should fall into the condemnation of the devil, right? So you don't want to be prideful, because the scriptures say, knowledge puffeth up, right? So don't think that you always have something to say. A man of true understanding and true wisdom, most of the time is truly just thinking of listening. Right? He wants to listen, right? Men really get that point across, And Psalms 119 and 9, it says, wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way, by taking heed thereunto according to thy word, right? So these brothers, when they give you exhortations, or they're just teaching, or they're doing something like that, it comes out of the book, and it comes out of the spirit of understanding as well, because the brothers sought their speech with their experiences and what they, know. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in the presence of, ancient men, as the scriptures say, right, it would behoove you to, watch your mouth and be a listener before you're a speaker. You got anything before I grab this?
Yeah. Ecclesiastes 5:1 says, keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of the Most High, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, but they consider not that they do evil. So, there's really not much to be said when you... But there's really not much to be said when, the men of the Lord are speaking. That's it.
But so it's going to Sirach 32:8, it says, let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. Be as one that knoweth, and yet holdeth his tongue. All right, so meaning, sometimes... Actually, I'm going to read up one Salakia. I should have read 7. It says, speak, young men, if there be need of thee. So there are times and places where you should speak, but it's in that same spirit, let your yeas be yeas, let your yeas be nays, nays be nays. All right, so say a brother, ask you a question, like yes, no, this, that, you don't have to always kind of talk, And I don't know if bros ever grew up in like a Jake household growing up. Of course you did, like most of the time. That, your parents told you when adults are speaking, you as a child don't speak, especially when it comes to the elder adults, you don't say nothing. That tradition comes from these scriptures, man. That's a manner, and it's respect, and it's honor. Right? You don't want to be so proud to think that what you got to say is more important than everything that these beautiful elders have to say. Right? If Yahweh Shai was on the scene, would you be talking over Yahweh Shai? Especially knowing that a portion of Yahweh Shai is in each of the men of the Lord, that he's blessed with this sound doctrine in his spirit, in his name. All right? So would you interrupt the Lord when he's speaking? The answer is no. You got something?
Yeah, Sirach 33:4, it says, prepare, this is GNT, prepare what you're going to say, and people will listen to you. Use what you have learned before you start talking. A foolish person's mind works like a cartwheel, going round and round in circles. So, really keeping thy foot when thou goes to the house of the Lord. You got to prepare what you're going to say. Even if it's needful for you to speak. If not, then, you don't talk. Because there's edification that's coming out. And as bro was saying, you don't want to be a wrench, when the Spirit is flowing.
That's facts. And scriptures talk about, a man that talks too much is a fool. But a man that talks little, everyone stops and hears what he has to say. There's power within speech. Speech is a heavy thing. The scriptures say, your words are seen of the Lord. Like the Lord sees all your words. He sees your thoughts and he sees your intents. All right? None of that's hidden. All right? So when you intend to speak, it should be for the very purpose of achieving exactly of comprehension. All right? If there's something that you must say it. And then, get it done swiftly and think about what you say before you say it. Because Sirach 19 talks about, he that slippeth at the tongue who we have not offended. So you could accidentally say some shit and offend somebody. And that's fucked up because, those that offend the little ones of the Lord, it's better for them to cast a millstone upon their neck and jump into a sea. All right? So the bottom line is you have to watch your mouth. There's power within the words and the Lord will hold you accountable for the things that you say. You got a point, bro?
Well, you got Sirach 32?
Yeah.
Okay, because I pulled it up.
So Sirach 32, continue on. I'm going to read that first one more time just to, double back. It says, speak, young man, if there be need of thee. So you don't always have to speak. That's the bottom line. Not everyone in the body is the mouth. That's not everyone in the body always has to say something, Most of the time as a young bro, it's that zeal that's kind of burning out of you that makes you want to, say something. But most time it's not needful. You feel me? Like that, like Jeremiah said, that burning in the belly, that coming out your mouth like fire. You have to still control yourself. You have to be temperate. Like the scriptures say, he that striveth for masteries is temperate in all things. Striving for masteries is beyond just knowledge of these scriptures. It's talking about really living his faith. Part of living his faith is having a certain level of conduct and manners and knowing how to be a brother and be around brothers and be around ancient men. You trying to master that type of thing, you have to be temperate.
Sirach 34:9. It says, a man that had travailed knoweth many things, and he that hath much experience will declare wisdom. So if you're a younger bro, you don't have that much experience, compared to elder bros. So really, certain things the elder bros, I'm pretty sure they have already went through it. All right. This is he that had no experience knoweth little, but he that had travailed is full of prudence. So really, it's like, what are you trying to say? Like you gonna wow the crowd with with what you trying to say when it's already been I guess you would say established. It's already known. When like experiences or like a precept. You're not the first one to find it, but that's really,
and that just goes into vainglory.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like you need to say something? Why do you feel like it just has to come out when you know for a fact that you have an elder or a brother or big bro, already on the topic as if he would miss it? And if he did miss it, guess what? There's more than likely another elder or big bro that's going to make sure that edification gets there. These brothers have been doing this for longer than I've been alive. So what the fuck can I possibly say that's going to be like, I've never heard of that before, they've never heard of that before? The edification is getting done.
Yeah.
So it's not your camp, it's the brothers' camp, it's the church, and the church has a body, and you have to play your specific role in that body, right? And the Lord will build you up to what you need to be in a certain day. Let patience have her perfect work. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to be the fucking top guy. You don't need to be the most knowledgeable. That shit's all proud. It's all pride, bro. And when that shit comes to, it's height, you're gonna fall at it, man. Pride cometh before destruction. You have to be very careful how you tread. You know what I'm saying? The Lord looks at your works. He sees your intentions. He knows what you mean by that. There are certain times you may slip at speech, and there's certain times you may overtalk, but that's when you repent. You say Salakia personally to the brothers, and then you change your ways, because now you know how to walk the right path. Now you know how to go about it. And guess what? The brothers that you're learning under have gone through the same things as you. There was a point that there were that brother that had to shut the fuck up. There was a point that each of those brothers had the one that had to be meek and quiet and had to have, their speech be short. Everyone has their chance. Everyone has to go through the same things. These brothers are very humble. You know what I'm saying? These brothers have gone through so many experiences that the Lord has set them up in so that they could be, those strong prophets that they are. So as a man of the Lord, have to see the fact that the Lord is dealing with them, and that they have the Spirit and they're doing that which they must. Don't stop it because you feel like you have 2 cents to put in. That's what your videos are for. That's why you have your platform that you teach, that, the Lord will send you your little, flock and sanctuary that you edify. Some people, just go back to your videos because they like hearing the way that you put things. That's why you have your time to speak. But when you're amongst a congregation of brothers, and especially on the highways and byways, you shouldn't be just over here trying to run the fucking show. All right? That's disorderly. We have to do things in order.
Sirach 7 and 29, it says, fear the Lord with all thy soul and reverence his priest. I looked at the word reverence. It says honor, respect. Damn. Esteem heightened by all, respect all. So, it's respectful to not talk, listen, and, be cordial. That's bro's better quote. Let all things be done decently and in order. It's going to be out of order when you out here trying to put your 2 cents in every point that comes out. If the Spirit's going to bring it out, it's going to be brought out. There's been times, bro's been holding precepts that you've been eagerly wanting to get, and then the bro quotes it, and then boom, it's like, there, then you read it. So there's a time and a place for everything, but, that's really all.
And just to throw in a small point on that too, is like, edification gets out the way that the Lord wants it to get out. Yeah. Just don't think that if you don't get this precept out right now that it's going to get missed during the lesson. If it was supposed to come out, the Spirit's going to have it out. You have to trust in the Spirit, like Brother say. Brother Kassad from the AZ Church says it all the time. Just trust in the Spirit. Trust in the Spirit, because this is a work that the Lord has blessed his prophets with being able to do. No one else on the whole planet can do this. All right? But reading on, it says, let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. And Apostle Gabar had a testimony on High Priest Ariah on, earlier on in the days. He said, High Priest Ariah was able to, explain things in one word. Answer, like for an example, like say somebody come up to you, oh, I'm so hungry, eat, you don't got to work around and be like, oh, maybe you're feeling sick, or, nah, there's a straight to the point, there's an answer, and it edifies and it cuts quickly, just kind of throwing an example. So you have to think in that same manner. We are men of order, we're men of structure, discipline, and honor. And none of those things have to come with pride and fucking rambling, right? It says, but be as one that knoweth and yet holdeth his tongue. And that's going to be a lot of times at camp. You're going to be like, damn, like I want to get this point out, but it's not about your pride, bro. It's not about how much you know. You don't have to prove, brothers, how much you know. You wouldn't be on, talking for brothers that cross the line. You don't have to prove to brothers that you know something. You're across the line because you know something. You're a tool that the Lord uses to call his sheep in. Of course you know something. You wouldn't fucking be there if you didn't, right? So you have to kind of have that in the back of your mind that this is a job that we're doing. You don't want to be like that one guy on a basketball team that's the ball hog. Fucking don't pass the ball and shit. Like there's not a whole team. It's not a 5v1. You know what I'm saying? We're brothers. We're a union. All right, we come together to achieve this job, this work. Reading on, it says, if thou be among great men, make not thyself equal with them. And that talks about even humility, bro. If an elder's asking you for water, or maybe you have to carry the signs, or maybe you have to unload the cooler, or maybe you have to do something that just, it's kind of laborious, do it for them, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a young bro. You're strong and mighty in our youth age, bro. Do those things. Like, if a brother's asking for a water, go get a water. You know what I'm saying? Like, in that type of sense, be a brother and do it because you love that brother. It's literally a part of who we are, to love each other. The scriptures say honor all men, but when it comes to the men of the Lord, you honor them even more than the world. If you would go run across the street to your grandma's house and get a water for your mom, for a brother, you run 2 miles and then back to get a brother your water, That's the thing.
Quick point to back you up, Matthew 25 and I'll start at 42. But it's talking about Yahushua. It says, for I was an hungered and you gave me no meat, let me just keep reading. It says, I was thirsty and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger and you took me not in, naked and you clothed me not, sick and in prison and you visited me not. Then shall they answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee in hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, verily I say unto you, as much as ye did it not to one of the least of these, ye did it not to me. I think there's a different. Hold on, let me get the other one. Salaki.
It's all good.
Okay, there you go. Salaki. This is it reads it better. Matthew 25:40 says, "And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, ye have done it unto me." So kind of just backing up, like, you gonna do it for bros? You gotta see these bros as like the Lord. Like, I'm doing this for the Lord ultimately. But
That's facts.
Just to back up what you were saying.
That's facts. So make not yourself equal with these elder brothers. You know, don't be walking all proud. And even then, you can't even be like in a super close relationship with them. You know, you always have to have a level of honor and respect. Almost like, you know, I don't know if y'all bros kind of grew up in a household where, you know, you didn't talk to your father like a friend. You know, for me personally, if I spoke to my father, it had to be for a reason. Otherwise, we wouldn't say anything. It'd be whole car rides where we would drive like an hour somewhere and there wouldn't be a single word said, you know, that type of thing. Like, because my father isn't my friend. He's a fatherly spirit unto me. He teaches me things, you know, so you're not over here trying to shoot the shit all the time. And there's a time and place for everything, all right? But that's when you kind of grow and understand that. There's a spiritual discernment to it. But, and when ancient men are in place, use not many words. So that simply puts it there, you know? Shut the fuck up. And if you feel hurt by the fact that you have to shut the fuck up, then you need to check your pride, bottom line. Because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what these scriptures say. And if you disagree with it, then you disagree with it. But you're going to be in the wrong. There's a quote in the word, I would agree with you, but then we both be wrong. That shit's wrong, bro. You got to shut the fuck up. That's the bottom line. Before the thunder goeth lightning, or that's about it for that point. But, I mean, I think the point's there and it's established.
Okay.
You know, stamp it. But, hey, pray this lesson was edifying. Want to lastly give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, Shalom.